It looks like we are live. Let me real quick just go and close the door. Okay. Presentation showing. Perfect. Hello everybody. Welcome to a camera class, or the camera class. Try to mint in my mouth. My name is Zach, and I'm going to be your host today. For those of you who have never been here before, from those of you who have done this, I teach a camera class every single Thursday here at Apple Electronics, depending how many Thursdays that there are. I was off the last 2 weeks because I was on vacation, but now I'm back and ready to start it back up. Today is the final Thursday of October, so that means instead of doing something around the traditional cameras, we're going to go beyond the traditional camera. Now, for those at home asking, what does that exactly mean? Well, if you paid attention to the last few classes, then you'll probably remember what we've talked a little bit about. So, intro to photography is really the bare bones. We're going to mainly focus on things like your automatic settings and buttons. Where do those exist on the camera? What do they do exactly? Those are the types of things that we're trying to cover. From there, though, we get now into the intermediate class. Intermediate class, we're taking away from the automatic settings. We don't want to use automatic anymore. We want to try to use the camera as a tool. So we're going to learn the more advanced settings. I start with the exposure triangle, things like shutter, aperture, and then ISO. We talk a little bit about products, things that you can get, things that would help. That then moves us into advanced photography, where now we talk a little bit about what the main part of photography is. That's taking the photo. I tell customers and people that's 80% of what goes into photography is taking the photo, and 20% is what you do after. So we start a little bit talking about composition now that we know how to use the camera as a tool and how to use it for its various functions. And then we talk about editing your photo, which again is 20% of that battle. To end the class, then we talk a little bit about advanced accessories, things that you can purchase that will amplify or help your photography overall. Well, beyond the traditional camera, we want to focus on none of that. What we want to work on is adding new tools that could benefit our camera game. Whether you're a father or a mother trying to take pictures of the family or the kids, whether you're a professional photographer who's out there trying to get new equipment to help them, or whether you're just an avid hobbyist who likes to document and write procedures over what you're doing, there's a lot of reasons to move beyond the traditional camera. Now, before I talk a little bit about what we will be covering in that section, it's important to think about why we want to advance past. It's not just about the advanced photography. It's more about the extra tools that come involved within that. So portability and travel is a huge aspect of photography in this case. When you look at these cameras, they're small, they're compact, they're easy to take with us. They're durable as well too. Things like the GoPros or some of the action cameras, they can be beat up, thrown around, they can get dirty, but at the same time too, they're waterproof. So swimming, vacation time, or if you're doing something that involves wildlife or underwater aquatics, all of that can be done with these cameras. They have great recording time if that's what you're looking to do, but they also have photo function as well. And finally, the ability to fly over and record over great distances is a huge added bonus. Now, before I break down the different cameras and why you want to add them into your arsenal and what you should know about them, I think it's important to review the subject of SD cards, because things have changed. If you came to my first class, you remember me talking about SD cards being an important aspect of your camera because it's the only way for you to save video or photo. Not much has changed in the realm of the beyond the traditional camera. However, there are a couple things to note. Micro SD cards are going to be 90% of what you're using in these cameras. There is a camcorder that you can also use a standard SD card with. However, micro SD is what you're going to use for your action cameras, your 360 cameras, your drones, and anything along those measures. Now, an important thing to remember is that most cameras in the traditional world have some storage. Or have no storage, no storage. Mirrorless, DSLR, if you get a video camera, no storage. On some of these other smaller cameras, you will get some, but it's very, very minimal. So you're going to need something to record and to save. I recommend having something with 64 gigabytes at the minimum, and anything with a good read and write speed. The higher the speed, the better the card will be. But keep in mind that a lot of these products are shooting in 4K and some all the way up to 8K. So buying a traditional or a cheap card, I don't think will really do you justice overall. You want something that has just a little bit better speed to it. Now remember, your pictures should never live on your memory card. I actually talked to a customer today about this. The memory card, in my opinion, is like your car. If let's say that your home is point A and work is point B, your car takes you from point A to point B every day, but you don't physically live in your car. When it comes to photography, your SD card acts the same way. Your SD card is what starts inside the camera. From there, then you remove the card from the camera and put it into the computer to download your images. After that, you clear the card out and continuously use the card. I recommend that heavily, and the reason being is because the card is meant to be reused and recycled. But the other big reason that I hugely recommend this is because when it comes to the card, you want to keep it clear so you don't get things mixed up. This way, all the photos that you have on there are safely saved on the card. As soon as you download and use them, they are then deleted from there and they go forward. Now, in this case, we don't want to make sure we lose any of our photos or our video. So I always start with landing the drone and turning the camera off completely. What this will then do is allow you to wait 5 seconds before removing the card. Once you've removed the card and you've waited that period of time, place this into a card reader. The best practice is always to remove the card and to try to avoid using the cameras to send pictures to and from. Now, I do recommend using a good card reader. Again, I say I don't recommend to use the phone or to transfer videos and photo from one to the other. But the reason I say that is not because necessarily I don't want you to use it. Most of the cameras that we're talking about today have fantastic apps that you can use to download and save that information onto your cell phone device. But if you want to make sure that the video quality and the image quality is at the highest that it can be, it's preferred and recommended to remove the card, insert it into a card reader, and then insert that into the computer to download all that information. These are examples of different card readers that you can get based on what you need for your device. So getting back into it, let's copy those photos to a destination folder. When I say destination folder, I mean a folder that you create on your computer. If you're using Explorer, or if you're using Windows, it's Explorer to find this folder. If you're using Mac, it's Finder to find the folder. But what I recommend with that destination folder is label it whatever it is that you took photos or videos of. For example, I was gone for 2 weeks. I was in Spain. I traveled to both Madrid and Barcelona. Rather than label, one folder Madrid, one folder Barcelona, which you can do if that's preferred, I would just label it Spain Trip 2025. From there then, in the future, if I want to see all the photos I took and you did during that trip, I should just be able to go into Explorer or Finder and look up Spain or 2025, keywords that will help me find all of my photos. Your goal is not only to transfer your photos from your device, but it's also to make sure that what you've transferred you can find at a reasonable or later time. Next is to copy photos to a secondary location. I would recommend putting them in an external hard drive or cloud-based solutions like Prime Photos and Google Drive. Next, you want to eject the card before physically removing it. It's a very simple process. If you're using a MacBook, you could drag it to the garbage can. If you're using Windows, simply left click and then you should be able right click and then you should be able to find the option that says eject. Lastly, format the card in the camera. Do not erase it in the reader. Physically take the card out of the computer once you've properly ejected it, insert it back into the camera, go to the format section and format the card for your camera. What this does is allow you, the photographer, to make sure the card is primed for the camera you're using. Now again, I can't be perfectly scientific for it because there's so many different cards and brands that do this, but the idea of formatting is that you're taking full advantage of your card's capacity. Without formatting, you could miss out on a few thousand or a few hundred photos depending on gigabyte size and your camera. By formatting the card, you basically primed the card to make sure it'll work perfectly for the camera you're shooting on. And then by doing this, by formatting the card in the camera, it will delete all the old photos that you had on there. So very simple, quick, but this is the same thing I talk about in the intro to photography, but I like to refresh for this. So let's get into the fun things now. To show you images before I talk about the actual cameras, it starts on the SD card. From there, you're going to insert that into the computer to download your images from one to the other. Once they're on the computer, I recommend copying them to a secondary location. A hard drive is my personal favorite, but if you don't like that and you would rather do something that you can log into globally, a cloud-based solution is a great option. Things like Google Photos is fantastic, Adobe Creative Cloud if you're interested in editing photos or videos, and for Microsoft they have OneDrive, which a lot of people use Microsoft Outlook for email. That's another good way of doing it. Now let's go through a tour of your device. We're going to break down a bunch of different devices today. That's what this class is all about, is figuring out if these cameras make sense for you, the user, based on your needs. We'll start with the GoPro/action camera. I do like to throw the name GoPro up there because they're synonymous with action cameras. But to be fair, brands like DJI and Insta360 are making products that are fantastic, that go hand in hand and compete very well stats and information-wise with the GoPro. It, to me, comes down to a preference base, and if there is software or anything else that you're more of a fan of using, then maybe these cameras are better with working with. But, to be fair, the cameras are very simple. All cameras in the action category will function the same. There is a capture button and a power button, or there's a capture button and a power button. Excuse me. Capture button is on the top of your camera. Usually has a red circle or a red dot, and that's going to be for photos or video, depending on what mode you're on. The power button plays a bigger factor into this. By holding this button down, you will power on and off the unit, but you can also toggle between the time-lapse photo and video on your camera. From there then, though, the screen is everything. When it comes to these action-based cameras, they are waterproof, they're durable, the screen goes hand in hand with that, but the screen is where you set and control all of the different intricate pieces of your video. These are some of the things that you have access to through using the screen. So So FPS, frames per second. Your angle and lens millimeter size. For example, wide would be listed as 16 to 34. Video quality. Are you shooting in HD, 2.7, 4K, and some of the newer cameras even have 8K capabilities. Hindsight is the focus capability of these smaller cameras to do target recognition. Hyper smooth is the ability to keep stabilization within the camera even if it's shaky. And the front screen that's then available on your camera is going to show you the duration of the video that you're doing, or it acts as a selfie mode. So by doing this, it's your way of being able to see yourself inside the camera. The different modes that you're able to toggle between. So photo, that allows you to capture stills and frames rather than take videos. Time lapse. The video is going to record over a duration of time, and you can set that for as long as you want. Typically it goes anywhere from 3 minutes. I've seen it up to 3 hours. Some of the newer cameras can even do more. Then it's going to play it back within seconds or minutes. Great example of this could be a sunset or a sunrise. If you want to watch traffic as it's driving down a busy street, you could record for a while. The videos that you might see of like a lobby where it fills up with people, that gets slow, then fills back up, all of that's done with time lapse. And then finally, video. You can record video for whatever duration you want, whatever quality you want, and you can then have the features like hyper smooth or hindsight, your millimeter size for the viewing angle, all that good stuff. Lastly, I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning, but anyone watching at home, if you have questions, feel free to chat. Keep it appropriate, and I'll answer them live on the class for you. Here's an example of what the videos could look like. Again, what are we getting out of this camera? Why? Doesn't matter. The cameras are small, they're compact, they're portable. The video quality that it gets from it is very cool, very awesome. On top of that too, it's a rugged camera. You can see that from all three of these videos that they're not afraid to ruin or break the camera. It's a durable piece of equipment. And that leads me into my final points. Why use an action camera at all? And to me, it's fairly simple. An action camera is a great resource for those who are on the go, but those who want a more point of view driven video or action driven video experience. I like to use these 4 images to talk about my favorite things about the GoPros, or about these action cameras. Number 1, the top left corner, accessories. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of accessories you can buy for this camera. GoPro makes some, DJI makes some, Insta360 makes them. Brands from all over the world make third-party ones as well too. There's a father who bought a specific mount that would work for chain link fences because his kid was playing tennis and he wanted to be able to record the whole match. There are so many products out there for you to find in order to get the end result you want. Endless amount of accessories. Features like hyper smooth and the hindsight feature keep stability at an all-time high. So like for example, at the top right corner with the cyclist, there's bumps, there's trail, there's all this sort of kind of, distraction from the main video. No matter how shaky the video gets, it'll keep it in clear motion as best as it can. I think that the underwater capabilities are fantastic. And lastly, the dog photo. I just think that the fun that you can have and the perspective is something that you just can't beat with these cameras. I have a real fun video of my golden retriever. He's wearing a one of these GoPros, and it's one of my favorite videos because all you see is his little ears flap in the wind as he's running around, and I cherish that video. Again, simple, not complex, but a great tool to add, especially if you're into making videos and doing all this kind of high-end stuff. Drones. Now drones enter a new topic of conversation. It's a little bit more of a conversation of both, what is legal and what's not legal. What do I need to know as a drone pilot or as someone who's interested in a drone? And I'm going to do my best to answer all that for you right now. So first and foremost, drones, we have lots of different versions of them. The one we're focusing on, and you can see it in the image here, is the quadcopter. Quadcopter gets its name because it has 4 blades, but it's the most popular. While the quadcopter does exist, there are multiple other ones that you should know about in case you're getting into this and if you want to get more advanced. So, single rotor. It's going to look like a typical helicopter, more of a toy. Your quadcopter is your most popular style of drone sold on a consumer level. And there's two different versions of this one. There's the FPV drone, which needs goggles to fly, but typically will only come as a quadcopter. And then there's Cine drones, which are very similar. They fly as a quadcopter, but they have a high quality camera and tracking feature. If you're someone who's getting into video and you're doing more and more professional based work on a lower scale, Cine drone is probably what you're going to be looking at. However, if you do get into higher end productions, and these are more movies or sets for TV and what have you, hexacopters will be the next thing up. Those are 6-bladed copters. They're great for filming, and the stability is unreal. There are even videos of people riding the hexacopters just to show the weight that these things can hold. We're talking about, with an FPV drone and a Cine drone, we could be looking anywhere from, a few $100s all the way up to a few thousand. When it comes to a hexacopter, we're probably in the 10 to a few, probably close to hundreds of thousands of dollars for this equipment. So again, remember the scale of this. And lastly, the fixed wing rotor, which really is more of a plane experience. Some of them will have cameras on it to be for fun, but you're not necessarily going to get the stability and what you're probably going to want out of a drone. This is more if you're a hobbyist and you want to fly. Now, when it comes to drones, there's going to be a pro versus phone controller. The pro controller is going to have a screen on it. You won't have to use your cell phone while you're flying, whereas the non-pro controller will require your phone. You can use your phone, you can use another cellular device, doesn't have to be that, just has to have internet service. When you're flying with the one with the screen, it doesn't necessarily need that, but you can connect your phone to the controller, which will give you access to GPS location and everything else that you might need while flying. Controllers will all be different, but they're going to have similar controls. Here's what you should be looking at. So, control sticks. One joystick will control your up and down movement as well as rotation. The other will control front and back and side to side movement. Antennas, point them outwards. These are the connection point between the drone and the controller. Your gimbal dial, it's rotational control over the drone's camera. The record button, clicking this will record or take a picture. Focus and shutter, this will give you the ability to refocus what you're filming or shooting, or it's going to give you the control over the shutter. These are things in the settings that you can control and change, and that's the nice part about that dial in the back there, is that you have the ability to functionality control what it does. And then last, the RTH button. This gives you the ability to send the drone back to the place it took off from. But I strongly, strongly recommend be very careful when using this on moving objects. The last time I checked, this does not come directly to where you are. It goes directly to where you took off from. So my example, I had a customer who was on a boat, clicked the RTH button, and instead of it coming back to where he had the boat parked, it went back to where the boat took off from, got really close to the water. Drones can't land on the water, but a wave hit it when it was getting closer and closer, and therefore sent it underneath, and it was done. So keep that in mind when using the RTH button. Now again, similar to our action camera that we just talked about, your screen is going to do a lot of things for you. So for one, it's going to have the distance from you to the drone. It's an important thing to remember, just so you know how far away your drone is from you. But the most important is altitude. We'll talk a little bit about why that is so important. Monitoring your altitude depending on your geozone is what you need to understand and know to keep yourself out of trouble when using these. Now the ability to switch between photo and video is on the screen. Map with geofencing and surrounding area is there. Active track, cancel, or start is on there. The return to home button, RTH, and immediate land. Now this is the part I think that you need to know about if you're getting into this. First and foremost, so we can clear the air on this, right now the leading manufacturer of drones is DJI. In the United States, they are unfortunately not being allowed to come in through customs, so we aren't getting any of them at the moment. Hopefully this is going to be cleared up by 2026, that's what they're predicting. So fingers crossed. There's a new Mavic 4 Pro on the way that we would really like to see and to get into store, but at the current moment it's just not looking very positive. But they are one of the number ones. Now with that being said, there are many other drone companies to get into, so don't worry about that. If you can't get a DJI product, they've got other ones all the way from Hover Air. We have other ones, Rotel drones that are fantastic as well too. There's one other drone company that we carry here in the store that's slipping my mind, so I do apologize. Oh man, wow, it just slipped my mind. Anyway, FAA, Federal Aviation Association, is the leading person within this realm of flying. They're the ones that control the airspace. When you fly, when you do anything, they're the ones that ensure safety. That being said, they are also the ones that regulate drone flying. So they've made this very simple for those who are brand new to this, and it's easy for you to follow and get into. You just remember the certain steps. So number one, there are 2 permits that you can purchase. For example though, if you have a drone that is under 249 grams, technically you do not need a permit of any kind, unless you're doing commercial work for business or for pay. Next, registering your drone. If you are going to register your drone, this can be done and accessed on the FAA.gov website. Costs roughly $5. This could have changed over time. Includes, of course, information that you got to read. After you complete it, though, you got to just clearly write out the permit number on the drone. This is if you're using larger drone units that are over the 249 grams. You have to register your drone. If you are worried about it for any reason, you can then go ahead and just register for fun. But if it's under 249 grams, which drones will clearly label on the side, then you're okay. Now the part you need to make sure you know is the Part 107. Part 107 is you pay about $175 to become registered. From there you take a course on flying. After you complete this, you pass some tests or some evaluations, you can now do commercial or business work for pay with your drone. This is important because if you are buying a drone and you are saying to yourself, am I using this for my own sake or am I using the final product to make money? If you say yes to making money, then unfortunately you need to get your Part 107 to keep yourself legally protected. If you are only using this for fun, then no, you don't necessarily need to get the Part 107. Is it likely that someone will stop you with all this? Possibly. There are cases where they can stop you with flying drones. Again, remember, it's a federal government mandate on this. It's not like your local police station and everything else. But if you are flying a drone, they might ask to see the permit number if it is over 249 grams, just to make sure that you are registered on there so you avoid fines. Again, it really comes down to just making sure that if you are going to do this for commercial work or for business, you do look into the Part 107 and apply for that. Lastly, geofencing. It's a virtual wall. The drone will not let you push forward or fly into these areas. And they typically exist around airports, government buildings, national park, and certain cities and properties. Best example that I have, I was in Arizona a year or so, 2 years ago, visiting family. I brought my drone out so we could experiment and play with it. I wanted to see how it would fly in the hot desert, which was very interesting. The battery life drained quickly. But what was amazing about that was that I came up close to an Indian reservation, or Native American reservation. As I was pushing towards the Native American reservation, the drone actually stopped midair, slowed down, and I got an error message on the screen telling me that I need to look at the geo zone that I was in, and I learned that I couldn't fly in that area. That being said, why I said earlier that altitude matters. Certain geofencing areas won't restrict you from flying, but they'll have a minimum altitude and a maximum altitude that you can be at to ensure safety to those around you and to people's privacy. Here are some clips for why I think drones are amazing. Perspective is a whole aspect of this that I think is incredible. I think the ability for you to track and monitor people as you're flying, like you see with the athlete on the track there, is really incredible. So using this and thinking about this as a tool, why might you want this as an additional accessory in your camera arsenal? Why use a drone? I think perspective is everything. Being able to fly to new heights and take pictures and videos that would have once required a helicopter or a plane is phenomenal. Perspective on different areas and landscape, like when you look at this Miami Beach area in the front there, it's gorgeous. Group photos is one that I actually recently experimented with my own drone when my family got together, and I actually was able to do a group photo, keeping the controller behind my back and flying the drone to the perfect height so that way it would pick up and see the video or photo. It's really cool. So again, why use a drone? It's to add a little extra flair to whatever it is you're doing for photo and for video right now. Camcorders. I've talked a little bit about this in the past. This slide will change. We're getting in the process now of getting FX or video-based cameras. Video-based cameras are becoming more and more popular for those professionals, hobbyists, and entrepreneurs who instead of needing to take still photo are doing more and more video work. But in that regard, why do we want to use a camcorder? Camcorders are going to have controls based on video alone. They will have some photo features, but the primary focus is video. So power button, the record button, zoom toggle, photo button, focus knob or dial, iris or aperture control, shutter speed, white balance, and playback controls are the things that are available via the controls, much like any camera that you might see. Settings that are extremely important to play with and make sure you're manipulating on your camcorder, though, are video qualities. Setting your camera for HD, 4K, or any other qualities it's capable of. Image stabilization. Setting your camera to have image stabilization on will ensure you have a non-shaky video. Face detection. Most camcorders will have an auto face detection, which, depending on what you're filming, can help keep humans in focus. Frame rate, the rate at which you're capturing frames for your video. Lesser rate, better for simple or standard videos. And faster rates, better for sports, action, or slow-mo. Bit rate. Setting this helps your camera take in information. The higher the bit rate, the more information your camera is taking in. And then exposure control. Controls the darkness or lightness of your video. These are things that are simple in the settings. It can get even more advanced than this. But these are, to me, some of the most important ones that as a brand new, maybe cinematographer or someone looking for video, you might want to think of. Why use camcorders? To put it simply, a camcorder is fantastic for the portability of it. Most come with a handle or a strap. They have tons of different accessories for you to get better audio, for you to get better lighting, for you to get better angles, and just recording times. Cinematically, they produce amazing videos, especially when they're color corrected and edited. And on top of that, too, the way that it's designed ergonomically gives you the ability to pan and get amazing shots that a standard camera that's a little bulkier for two hands might not give you the flexibility of. Last but not least, the 360 camera. Possibly one of the most popular cameras on the market right now when it comes to these more non-traditional based cameras. I say that because the 360 cameras are becoming more and more increasingly in demand because of the functionality. For example, it works and functions like all other action cameras, meaning you can go underwater with it, you can play around with it, it's durable. But this one has two 180-degree firing cameras. It works with one or both cameras depending. You can hide or make the selfie stick invisible, which is a crazy piece of information. It uses a combination of AI and what they call stitching technology to bring the two 180 degrees videos together to give you the full 360. By doing that, then it senses that the pole is in the middle that you're using and actually blocks it out. Works with one or both, as I said earlier, but it creates a third-person view, unlike other cameras. Videos can be viewed in their entirety with a VR headset, but you can also crop these and play these down to get exactly what you want. They're small, they're compact, and they're durable. Now, when I talk about the VR headset and everything else, this is a great example of it. So when using a 360 camera, at the end of it, they have a motto. It's shoot first, think later. You don't necessarily need to sit there and think about what you're recording. Once you turn the camera on and it starts shooting, it does the rest of the work for you. From there, all you're doing is setting your viewpoint, and you can set your focus parameters and everything after the fact. If that's not something you want, you just want to watch the video in its entirety, you can also do that and use the ability of a VR headset or some form of viewing where you can actually turn and feel like you are in whatever you were filming. There's an app that you can download on your phone to edit and play with these custom features, and it works on both Android, Apple, and even on desktop. And at the end of the day, if it's not something that you want to do, video in the top right corner is a good example of how a lot of people play with these 360 cameras. You can see this person's walking through England, somewhere around the Tower Bridge, and you can see all the different stuff around them as they're going. It's really fun, really cool, and unique. It's different. I don't have too much to say because it is very similar to an action camera. It just utilizes those 180 degree lenses. So why use a 360 camera? First and foremost, it's new. It gives you the ability to focus recording, not think about what you're doing, but just enjoy and focus in the moment, and then go back in and edit and play with the video later. If you're someone who enjoys the 360 headset or enjoys that VR style goggles, this camera is compatible with that technology. And on top of that too, the videos and what you're able to make from this will look like nothing else that you've done before. Now that is all I have for you guys. Unfortunately, that was the last class of the month, but rest assured we do have another class coming. At the beginning of this next upcoming month, November, starting November 6th, we were going to have the Intro to Photography class. After the beginner photography class, the 13th will be the intermediate class. November 20th will be the advanced photography. And then actually I just take that back. November 27th, we will have to revisit that. I will most likely teach the class on Monday, the 24th for Beyond the Traditional, because Thanksgiving will be the 27th, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll look that up. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I'll stay on here for a couple more minutes. It doesn't look like anybody really has questions for me, but if questions come up and you can think of any, feel free to chat and ask that. If not, my phone number, my email are on here. If you want to get a hold of me, by all means, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to walk you through whatever it is that you have questions on. And if you don't want to speak to me, next here or in the store here, next to our fish tank, we have plenty of staff members in the small electronics department who can assist you with finding the correct camera or the correct gear for whatever it is that you're trying to get done. Alright, well, it doesn't look like anybody does have any questions for me, so I won't keep the video going much longer. Thank you guys, as always, for watching my classes. My name is Saxon. I'm happy to be back from vacation. Next week, November 6th, we will have the Intro to Photography, our beginner camera class. Hope to see any newbies there. Hope to see people who want a refresher there, especially as we approach the holiday season. Cameras will start coming out a little bit more. So have a good night, guys. Happy